The hallway of Lincoln Elementary was filled with the usual chaotic energy of a Friday afternoon, but for Sergeant David Miller, the air felt heavier than any rucking march he had ever endured. Dressed in his crisp Marine Corps desert marpats, still smelling of jet fuel and the dry heat of a 13-month deployment, he stood outside classroom 4B, his heart hammering against his ribs in a way that combat had never managed to trigger. He had missed birthdays, first steps, and 2 Christmas mornings, but today the long wait was finally over. When the door swung open, the room fell into a stunned silence as David stepped into the light, his eyes immediately locking onto his 7-year-old daughter, Chloe, who sat frozen in the front row. The moment she realized the man in the uniform was actually her father, a high-pitched sob escaped her throat, and she launched herself across the room, burying her face in his neck as he lifted her off the ground, the sound of the class's applause echoing against the cinder-block walls. It was the perfect homecoming, the kind of viral moment that people watch with tears of joy. Yet as David held his daughter tight, he noticed something that dampened the celebration. In the very back of the room, a small girl named Lily sat perfectly still, her face buried in her hands as her shoulders shook with a violent, inconsolable grief that stood in stark contrast to the cheering around her. While the other children crowded around to see David's medals, Lily's teacher, Mrs. Gable, quietly knelt by her side, trying to offer comfort to a pain that seemed to radiate from the child's very soul. David, sensing the shift in the room's energy, gently set Chloe down and walked toward the back, his heavy boots sounding a somber rhythm on the linoleum. He knelt beside the crying girl, his massive hand resting gently on the table as he asked in a soft, disciplined voice what was wrong. Through gasping breaths, Lily looked up, her eyes red and puffy, and explained that seeing a father in uniform come home was the one thing she had prayed for every night for 3 years. It was then that Mrs. Gable whispered the truth that silenced the room. Lily's father had been a sergeant in the same division as David, but he was the one who didn't get a homecoming, having made the ultimate sacrifice during a night raid in the mountains of Kunar. The joy of the reunion was instantly replaced by the heavy mantle of the brotherhood, as David realized he wasn't just a father coming home to his daughter, he was a living reminder of the void left in another child's life. He didn't offer empty platitudes or walk away. Instead, David took off his own unit patch, the one he had worn through every firefight, and placed it in Lily's small palm, telling her that her father was a hero whose name was still whispered with respect by every man in his platoon. He promised her that as long as he was back, she would never have to walk to a father-daughter dance alone, proving that the bond of the military extends far beyond the battlefield. That day, the school saw 2 different sides of service, the beauty of a return and the enduring price of the sacrifice that makes those returns possible.